I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, October the 25th. And I tell you what, this market is just under pressure from a calf stampede, and you talk about a scary outfit. I tell you what, it just looks like they're never going to quit coming. You can hear them bawling for a mile away. They're breathing hard, they're frothing at the mouth. A lot of them got snotty noses and runny eyes. They're fleshy for the most part. Most of them are full. You can hear their rumen sloshing because their belly ain't working right, and it's just weighing heavy on the market. A lot of these calves are as big as yearling feeders, and they're even hurting the market on the few yearlings that we have left. And the lightweights, the market's even coming off on them, despite all the winter grazing that we've got, the good prospects for that. But really taking a toll on the market right as we're starting to see the worm turn on these fat cattle, and we're about to start climbing some ladders here with the market position on them. Our box beef cutout values are higher. Everything's looking pretty good. The board's even being favorable. We had a bullish cattle and feed report, but you just can't stave off the pressure from all these calves that are hitting the market. If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. If you've got the ability to fall calf, you need to explore it. There's no mistaking that the cattle business would be better for everybody if we could smooth out the calving a little bit. We've just got so many of your producers that are calving in the spring. It's just undue pressure this time of year with all the calves hitting the market. And unless you don't want better demand for every phase of your calf's life, don't fall calf. But if you do like that, if you want big demand for lightweight calves, if you want good demand whenever the calves are at weaning, a typical weaning, or at a dry yearling or whatever, that's what you get with fall calving. If you guys got the ability to do that, it's something you need to explore. Look at the board on Wednesday. October live cattle futures up $0.50 at 113.27. December up $1.20 at 118.35. October feeder cattle down 45, taking a little bit of the early week gains off, ending the day on Wednesday at 154.62. November was up a nickel at 155.92. Your fat cattle trade has been fairly quiet, but it's going to be higher this week. We've already seen higher trade even up in the northern plains, and a lot of those guys are pretty easy to push over. But the northern plains has been struggling a little bit to get as current as the southern plains has been. A lot of big cattle still kind of working through some of them. Even though our cattle on feed report was bullish, we did still see signs of that. Our weights are still pretty heavy, but they're starting to get working through those, and they're going to get a little bit more current. And I tell you what, when they get as current as the southern plains is, and tighter supplies of market-ready cattle, then we can really start making strides in our fat cattle market. And I tell you what, that's happening pretty progressively as we're starting to see more of those northern plains cattle, especially your western Nebraska, your Wyoming cattle like that. Those cattle are starting to move west to fill some slots that we have way out west in the few slaughter facilities that we have out that way. And also you're seeing those Nebraska cattle heading south to try to keep from having the market run away, as filling some slots that they have in those Kansas facilities. So the more they start robbing from Peter to pay Paul, then we're going to start seeing this market to have a more opportunity to advance. But we're going to gain some ground this week. Through Tuesday, just on Monday and Tuesday sales, we saw about 4,000 head sell in the 5-area feeding region on a direct negotiated basis. Your live sales were 112. We haven't seen that yet, but 112 in the northern plains. So we should at least get 114 in the southern plains, and with another positive day, maybe $115 in the southern plains. And I think that's what guys are thinking. But Some dress sales in Northern Plains at 174. On Wednesday we come back and still no trade. Guys are holding pretty tough. We would normally hear the last several weeks or last 2 or 3 months, really, we've been seeing a lot more trade on Wednesday in the Northern Plains, but haven't sold much at all. Did see a little bit of trade on Wednesday at 175 in the Northern Plains, but I tell you what, we're in a good spot to gain several dollars this week. Box beef cutout values were higher. That's going to help. On Wednesday's close there, choice cuts at $211.39, up another $1.11. Selects almost up back up to $2 at $197.82. That was up 96 cents. Slaughter has been good this week, 356,000. That's 4,000 more than last week and 7,000 more than the same week a year ago. Let's look at your feeder cattle markets, your real-time index on Cattle Market Central. Late in the day on Wednesday at 151.19, down $2.13. And like I said early in the talk, just pressure from all these calves, especially in the Northern Plains. Just got every sale barn chock full. And a lot of those big sale barns are having 2 sales a week at least, trying to get those calves moved through. We're short of trucks, short of holes to put them in, still pretty muddy in a lot of lots around, and it's just that time of year. It's getting deep into the calf run, and we're starting to run out of places to send them. We hope that as soon as we get harvest completely wrapped up, a few more holes will open up to let some of those calves come through. But OKC West in El Reno, Oklahoma, the biggest sale in the country, 11,300 head. Shoot, that ain't nothing to some of them seasonal sales up in the Northern Plains this time of year. A lot of them are getting that many cattle every week. But 11,300 head, that was a little over 4,000 head of calves and 7,000 plus head of yearlings on Wednesday. Feeder steers under 800 pounds, just about $2 to $3 lower, because of pressure from those calves. You get a lot of calves weighing in the 7s, and it ain't that far up to 8.5, and just a lot of pressure on the calves. Get into some of your bigger, harder, long-tail yearlings weighing over 8.5, and they were steady. Feeder heifers, for some reason, $4 to $6 higher. Just must have had a heifer buyer in there, kind of hot on some. But you remember on the calves, it was they kind of punted the trend there. Said that there's some weaned, weedy type calves. The steers were $6 to $10 higher, but just hated to call the rest of the calves lower, but that's what they are when they're unweaned and fleshy, and not something that everybody's really looking for. But look at the sale at OKC West on the Cattle Market Central market report. You saw that they had big slug of 7-weight steers. A portion of these would be calves, some of them be yearlings, and some of them not the best condition, but almost 2,300 head of 7-weight steers in El Reno this week, weighed 748 pounds on the average at $152.80 on the weighted average price, and that weighted average price was nearly $6 lower than the previous week's weighted average. But like I said, a lot of those would be bigger calves, and that's the first really big calf run they've had at El Reno. Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock, 6,100 head there. Comparable weights of feeder cattle, $1 to $3 higher on some of the others that weren't as easily to compare, maybe steady to weak. Your unweaned calves there, $3 to $10 lower. I tell you what, a fat balling heifer calf, you can't hardly pay somebody to take them right now. And I realize they're a commodity, but there's just so many of them out there that there's nowhere to go with them. But you look at a Dodge City quote on some big yearling steers, 66 head, weighed 862 pounds at $157.25. And that's a good price, especially in the Southern Plains. But actually, your Southern Plains runs haven't been as big because of that huge calf run up in the Northern Plains. And we're starting to see some of these quotes down here in Oklahoma, Kansas areas that are comparable or maybe even higher than some of those fancy rigs up north. But how about an eastern sale? Hardin County Stockyards, Savannah, Tennessee. They put yearlings together and sell them in the ring there. 71 head of 718-pound steers bring $157. That's in Savannah, Tennessee. How about a big calf quote? And I tell you, these calves, you can't get $2 for the best 500-pound steer that walks anymore. They just won't bring it. There's nobody that will give that kind of money for them. And the highest calf quote that I saw in that weight category was in Torrington, Wyoming. 62 head of steers weighed 503, and they squeezed 193 out of them, and that's the most you can get. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.